to the Loaded Goat. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Chris.
So
I unblurred my background today for you visual learners. So take a peek at my bookshelf today.
the thing about that bookshelf is he's never read any of those books on that bookshelf.
But they're there.
They're there. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm sorry if I don't mean to cast aspersions.
I've read some. Not very many.
Well, before we dive into the show, we got a follow-up email, and I'm sorry for the delay in getting back to this person. Comes from Emery Nichols in Auburn, Alabama, and he thanked us for the shout-out on a previous episode. And he said the podcast gives him some humor to start his Monday morning commute each week, which we appreciate. He writes, I know Chris doesn't care about football, but was curious if Aaron knows college football and if he is a Tennessee fan since growing up in East Tennessee. Love the episode with Elton Hayes talking Penn State. Keep up the great work, guys. I am a huge college football fan. I actually have been written a lot about the history of it for Athlon Sports in the past. I am a huge Tennessee fan.
Go
Vols.
Is that the right one?
That's the right one. And I was hopeful that they would. They did well in the I guess it's the Cheez-It Bowl now against Iowa. So that was nice to see. And as we record this podcast, Michigan has won the national title. And
what happened the day before? I watched a game this week.
What game did you watch?
The other national title for the Tier Bs in Division One.
Tell us about that one.
South Dakota State versus University of Montana in Frisco, Texas. Boy, did Montana not show up and just get, oh boy. It was I think 100-3. It was really good.
That's tough.
South Dakota, they're workhorses. Those guys are huge. They haven't lost a game in 2 years.
So you do care about UM football, right?
I don't care about UM football. I'll watch most chippers.
What?
Chippers, like the chipper. Most championship game. Like a championship game.
Oh, okay, what's the championship game? Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I was watching the game last night, and they mentioned somebody being a University of Montana alum, and it was but I can't remember who it was.
Oh, please get out of town. Big week for us. Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon for the Black People.
Lily Gladstone,
Best Actress.
Right, that's who it was. Lily Gladstone. I'm sorry, that was who they were talking about. Yeah. Have you seen Killers of the Flower Moon?
No, it's $20 to rent on Apple right now. It's more expensive than our podcast.
Well, I've basically, as you've said, because I have an Alamo Draft House monthly pass, I'm clearly a man who just doesn't have to work, and I only do this for fun because nobody has that kind of money. But I did go see it back in November on my pass, and I really enjoyed it.
I would really like to see it. I mean, we're dating this episode, right? Timestamp, but there are so many good movies right now. I loved Maestro. I thought it was fantastic and flawless. Watched May December last night. That's a quirky movie, but that was also quite a bit of fun. And then Oppenheimer. I did not think I'd be able to sit for that long, and I loved it. I did not.
Congratulations.
Get
May December. That's about Mary Kay Letourneau, right?
It's about the
teacher
relationship. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so there you have it. Thank you, Emery, for writing, and thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We'll go ahead and dive into the show. Today we are doing Aunt B's Invisible Beau, and was actually chatting with Randy Turner yesterday about this episode. We both agreed.
Was that just happenstance, or were you guys talking about the episode? Or just checking in, and one thing led to another, and here you ended up just talking about the episode?
Oh, he was calling to check in and see if you're doing okay. So that's how it came up. He said, I haven't heard from Christopher lately, and so he was just making sure he didn't do anything to upset you.
Yeah, 24, not my year. Look out, 25.
Yeah. No, we both agreed. A very well executed episode, but the subject is just so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, Aunt B content never really quite, tickles my fancy. But it was a well done episode. New storyline, I guess.
Yeah.
I love when she lies. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. I think when we get to the scene that really just kind of turns it, we can talk more about that. But you want to dive in?
Let's start the show.
All right. This episode first aired on March 29th, 1965.
What? That's my birthday.
Oh, well. And you were born
Oh,
how
no, I
many
can't
years
get that.
later?
Otherwise, people are going to know my social security number.
How would they know your social security
You can
number?
piece it together if you got the right app.
All you need is a birth date. You can find
There's the
somebody.
birthday and then the calculator app, and then you can get a social security number.
Is that true?
No,
You're just pulling my leg.
but in Montana, your driver's license ID does have your birthday hidden in it.
Okay.
I'm not fully lying.
All right. I don't even know why I entertained that thought for a second. But we open with Andy packing a suitcase for Opie, who is spending the night at Johnny Paul's. I'm sorry, Aunt B is packing a suitcase, and she's fretting, even though he's staying only one night. I mean, that is like a massive suitcase for just going down the street.
I got a couple of different things. First of all, I barely made it through a sleepover without getting too scared and going home in the middle of the night, so I don't really remember. And, I had a pretty pampered life from my parents, but I think I still even had to pack my luggage to go to my parents. I was surprised that Opie was doing this. So first thing, when you would go down to Little Timmy's for a sleepover, Aaron, would you pack your own suitcase?
I think I just packed a backpack.
Yeah. And then second, in the last year, I've really transitioned into I overpack all the time. I don't want to be without. So I'm kind of skewing toward Aunt B here.
I try to find a right balance.
Oh, you're more like a Goldilocks. Yeah, well, we all wish we could do that, Aaron, but that's not possible. So thanks for nothing on that one.
I mean, what do you want me to say? I could say I try to do a minimalist approach. I mean, my biggest thing is I generally always forget something.
Yeah. Aaron grabs underwear and some baking soda and calls it a day. That's enough to get him through a week and a half.
Even at a conference, it doesn't matter. I'm like, what'd you pack? I packed some underwear and some baking soda. I'm good.
Called it a day.
So Opie leaves and Helen steps by. She's had a stressful day at school. Apparently, Howie Pruitt is causing some problems.
He's such a little punk.
Yeah. They talk about going out on a date, but they decide to hang out with Aunt B since she is going to be alone. And the next morning, Clara and Aunt B are talking about her hanging out with Andy and Helen the night before, and how it's not giving Andy and Helen time to really grow their romance or whatever.
All right,
it's
so
really
you've traveled with your father in quite a bit, and he comes and stays with you for a while. Do you leave him at home when you go out and take your lovely wife out on the town, or how do you handle this situation?
I don't leave them at home. We generally don't go out. But we generally don't go out. We generally don't go out on the town either. So I guess it's more like we go to
Del Rey.
Yeah, we go to a restaurant and then we come back and watch TV.
Yeah, we've all been to that Mexican restaurant. It's pretty good.
It's good. He doesn't like Mexican. He's never been.
Oh, classic talent.
That's right. But I mean, I'm a little bit like, what is Clara doing? I mean, she is just what you would call a stirrer of strife. Always causing pressure.
She's always cooking something.
Always cooking something. And so the Eggman stops by with her delivery, and he gives her an eggs timer as a gift. His name is Hendrix. He's just a very nice man.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. He leaves, and then Clara asks how Helen and Andy are doing, and Clara then reiterates that she's a third wheel, and apparently she's been dating Clark Cooper for 5 years, and I don't know, I imagine Clark Cooper is like, I'll take Clara out for dinner once a week or something like that, but I don't want to marry this woman.
Yeah, correct. And is this also where she says that her son lived at home for a while? Because I just like that there's just a blindness there too. Yeah. We don't know what's going on with Clara's son, but I don't think it's as simple as she thinks it is.
I think Clara's son had kind of a failure to launch thing kind of going on.
Mm-hmm. He hadn't seen the movie yet. The movie hadn't been made yet.
No. No. But this is obnoxious, and it really worries Aunt B. And then later that night, Andy is on the phone with Opie, and he is going to stay another night at Johnny Paul's. And he sits down to read the paper, which is actually the Mount Airy News. And Andy invites Aunt B over to Helen's with him. I mean, it's Mount Airy's where Andy Griffith's from.
Oh, wait, what's the one right next to Mount Pleasant. What's the place that they always go to? Mount Pilot. Mount Pilot. That's what I thought Mount Airy was. I'm tracking now.
Yeah. Andy, he invites Aunt B to go over to Helen's with him, but she declines, and Andy protests, and Aunt B lies.
Protest.
Yes. And she says she has a date. And that makes the situation worse because Andy starts asking, and then Aunt B says she's dating the butter and egg man from Mount Pilot. And the next day, Andy
what I'm just learning with this is that Aunt B is not an experienced liar.
No.
She doesn't approach it the way us professionals do it.
Well, I mean, you don't. If you lie, you lie to shut something down. You don't basically create 15 more questions.
Exactly. Well, or you're got to be ready for them quickly.
Yeah, she's neither. And this is really low stakes. I have a headache. My stomach hurts.
These are all things I said to you in our earlier conversation. Would you?
Yeah. I'd rather. I was like, we're still doing this podcast. Don't give me any lip. But there's a program I want to watch on TV. I'm really enjoying this book I'm reading. There's all kinds of things. But the next day, Andy and Barney are having a good laugh over the whole thing. Barney says he buttered her up and she egged him on. And which sounds so, I know it's supposed to sound so innocent, but it sounds so, it doesn't sound innocent at all. It doesn't sound, no. And Barney then starts asking a bunch of questions about him and then chastises Andy for not knowing who his aunt is dating. And he is worried that she could be taken by a con man. We've seen this happen potentially with other people.
Times.
Yes, we have. And Barney offers to write up a character report about him, and Andy won't have it.
I totally would have done that. That would have been fun to have.
I mean, I would have, yeah. But I mean, you don't want to turn
still
Barney.
Do that?
Isn't that basically the whole thing of building a case is having a file on suspicion?
Yeah, but I feel like
not stop and search. But it's like building information on who they believe is in the hierarchy.
Character profile to me sounds a little bit more like a narrative. Chris wakes up with dew in his hair and ice on his feet.
I don't think that's what he was planning. What Barney was wanting to do.
Okay.
With dew in his hair and ice on his feet. What do you sleep on the sleep? You do sleep outside from time to time, but
not right now. It's cold. It's
weird. So Andy won't have it. And later Barney comes up to Wally's and sees the Eggman's truck, and he is talking to a young man who is driving the truck. And Barney learns that he is the man's son and that the Eggman is married as we go to commercial.
Guy.
The son? Yeah, he's a good-looking guy.
Totally.
This episode was produced by Pod Machine. They do a great podcast at a great rate. I was fortunate to get started on this a few years ago, and I've just been very, very pleased with it ever since. I mean, they will edit your podcast. They will do artwork for your podcast. They'll do the YouTube videos for the podcast, and they have a very quick turnaround time once you upload all your material. So I highly recommend it.
I'm pro pod in general. I love bean pods. I like pod hotels. I like pod apples, maybe. But you know what pods I like best? Pod machines.
Pod machines. Me too.
I like them better than podcasts. I honestly don't even really like podcasts that much. So I'm just thankful that you're here.
Why do you do this podcast?
To see your dimples, baby.
To see my dimples. Well, and if you really push hard, my Pod Machine might be able to give you some dimples. I don't know. So go to podmachine.com to learn more and enter Loaded Goat at checkout for a 10% discount.
And that's spelled just like Loaded Goat.
And after the break, Barney comes into the jail steamed, and he keeps saying, boy, oh boy, and he says he'll tell Andy, but he needs Andy to remain calm. And Barney tells him that the Eggman is married, and Andy is stunned, and he says he'll do something. And
that to be seen.
Yeah. And so at dinner at the Taylor household, Andy is looking for Lorne, and he sends Opie away, and he asks Aunt B how much she knows about this Eggman. And Aunt B insists that they are dating, and Andy says...
I feel like I am the Eggman.
I am the Eggman.
I am the walrus.
I think this is, I just almost wish Andy would have, at this point, Aunt B would have just gone, I was just trying to get you off my back. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to tag along with you and
That
Helen.
would be better. It's like, would you just get your own darn life?
Yeah.
Trying to drag me into your crappy life.
Yeah. Yeah. Just something.
Can I get credit for censoring myself twice there?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Thank you.
You know, because Christopher's a regular trash mouth.
That's actually true.
Aunt B insists that they are dating, as I said. And so at the jail, Barney is now calling for violence on the Eggman. But he and Andy and Helen agree that Andy should go to Mount Pilot and speak with him. So we cut to the Eggman on the phone and then chastising his son about driving too fast and breaking eggs. I mean, I sympathize. I can't imagine driving around on those country roads, how slow you must have to drive with all those eggs without cracking one of them. And so Andy and Barney show up. Andy sends Barney away, and the Eggman says he knows why he's here and shuts the door. And of course, the Eggman thinks it's about broken eggs. Andy's talking about him being married, and this leads to what would be an awkward and would be a funny exchange. But then Andy delicately says there is a rumor that he is dating Aunt B. And the Eggman, the guy playing him, just kills this performance. He is flabbergasted and says it's not a word of truth to it. And this is like this. I mean, it almost just, it just kind of stops any silliness of this episode right in its tracks. And then he's flabbergasted and he says it would be better if Andy got a new butter and Eggman, and Andy agrees.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which is fair.
Can I ask a butter question that I was wondering?
Yeah.
What's sweet butter? Shorter salted butter and sweet butter.
Sweet butter is generally considered unsalted butter.
Oh, that's it?
But that's sweet butter. But then there's sweet cream butter, which is made from fresh cream rather than cultured or sour cream, and it has a slightly sweeter taste.
That's the listeria.
No, it's not.
It is. It is. You know a lot about butter. I'm proud of you.
I don't know a lot about butter. I don't know a lot about butter. The internet knows a lot about butter. So I was glad to Google. We
can put that on your tombstone. Aaron, husband, friend, glad to Google.
Christopher Cordingly, you know.
He came, he was here, conquered nothing. Good riddance.
Christopher Cordingly, he congrats on a life over. Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah. So they leave and Andy gets home and Clara says she expects to be hearing news since Andy and Helen have more free time since Aunt B is dating. Andy realizes what has happened. I am almost a little bit like, this never happens. But if anybody ever in the whole series, this never happens in the whole series, but if anybody gave Clara the riot act, I think so many fans would just be like, this is amazing.
I would love it.
Me too. So Andy goes and sits inside and sits down with Aunt B and tells her that things are going to be the same regardless whether he and Helen get married. And we go to commercial. And in the epilogue, the new Butter and Eggman shows up. And it turns out he's a widower. And Aunt B lights up as we close.
15 years deep. Yeah. Butter the eggs and salt the cream, or what's the...
Salt the eggs and butter the cream.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know. What'd you think? So how many whistles would you give this?
6.
Yeah.
Nothing special. Didn't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with 5 just because it's just I will just say this, the what they do to this poor Eggman just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Ever since I sang it, I can't. Whenever you say Eggman, I am the wall. Yeah, no, I can't. Yeah,
I am the Eggman. I'm sorry. What do you want me to say? The egg merchant, the butter and egg merchant.
Yes, the merchant, please.
The butter and egg merchant. Okay, we can do that. Yeah, but so 5. It just leaves it just makes me cringe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
Wonderful to see you. Really excited that Emery wrote in. That was sick.
Yeah, me too.
I hope that Opie had a good time at the sleepover. We didn't hear anything back from them. Maybe they played cops and robbers or something like that. And that's kind of all I got.
Yeah. I don't know what you did with sleepovers before. Well, I do, but you played, but I don't know how late they got to stay up or if they got to play video games or anything like that.
So, I never played video games. It was like cops and robbers.
Cops and robbers.
Kick the can. I feel like Opie is really good at kick the can.
Yeah, kick the can. Sounds like your friends didn't really have any toys. You're out kicking cans.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, it's just a great cul-de-sac.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Fair enough. Well, thanks for listening. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Where?
In Tidal.
In Tidal, okay. And if you think about it, subscribe next week. We'll do the arrest of the fun girls. They're your favorite ladies are coming back.
Arrest them. Lock them up.
And until then, Christopher, he buttered her up and she egged him on.
I am the walrus.